Let's talk about 4 different AI tools that you can use to write your dissertation. And I know there's been so much going on about AI and ChatGPT and all of these things nowadays. And a lot of you have asked me, what about dissertations? What should I actually use for my dissertation? So this is the video to help answer that. Now, before I get started, AI is not going to write your dissertation for you. You have probably seen on YouTube people that are saying, I wrote my dissertation with ChatGPT. Please don't be that person. ChatGPT is not going to write a good dissertation. ChatGPT is not going to replace you as a researcher. So instead, I'm going to talk about certain AI tools that can be really helpful for you to use and how to use them. But if you're stuck on, I don't even know how to get started writing my dissertation, I feel lost, I don't know if I can do this, check out my scientific dissertation workshop. That's going to be in a link in the description below. It's completely free. It's about a 20-minute video that just walks you through the 4 different steps of writing your dissertation and gives you some tips on all of those steps. But let's get into AI tools. So the very first tool that I'm going to recommend is relatively a newer tool. And so this is Assistant by Scite. So Scite AI is really been around for a while. They've been mainly looking and making it easier to make connections between papers and look at how something has been cited versus just the number of times it's been cited. And they have now come out with a new tool called Assistant, and it is basically ChatGPT for research that actually validates its citation. So we all know ChatGPT hallucinates research articles. Basically, if you ask it for research articles or you ask it for citations, it's going to give you false research articles. And they sound really great, but they're not actually real. What Scite has done is they have validated against real research articles. So they've taken basically the GPT engine and now they run it, but they make sure that they're giving you actual research articles instead of just false research articles. So this can be really helpful, primarily if you are, I'm assuming if you're writing your dissertation, you know your field pretty well. But there's going to be a lot of things that you know in your field, but you might not know exactly how to cite them. Or even if you're working on your literature review, you may not know every single paper that might be worth citing in your literature review. Using something like Scite AI's Assistant tool can be really helpful where you can ask, can you find a source for the following statement? And then you can write in the statement that you want to use within your paper and be able to cite it. Or can you give me research papers for X, Y, and Z? And it even gives you more examples available. So I'd recommend checking out Scite AI's tool. Now, to clarify, it is a paid tool. I think you get 2 free prompts and then you have a free trial that you can go on, but it is overall a paid tool to use. And I will leave links to all of these tools in the description below. The second tool I really recommend using is Copilot by SciSpace. So Copilot is basically like ChatGPT for a specific article or for a specific text. You can ask it questions and it will analyze it and give you the information back. You can ask it to summarize a paper, ask it what methods were used in a paper, and they even now have a Google Chrome extension that you can use so that you don't even have to be in SciSpace. You can be anywhere across the internet and you can be able to use their Copilot tool to analyze the papers that you're working on. So this can be really helpful whenever you're really sitting down to write like a literature review or something like that, or coming up with your discussion information and you're like, okay, I want to include this paper, but I want to know these things real quick about it. It also explains parts of papers. So if you're working through different parts of papers and you're like, I don't understand what this is saying, you can highlight it and ask it to basically explain it in plain English to you. So it's a little bit easier to understand what's going on in that paper. So Copilot is a really good one, again, to be able to get information and also be able to figure out what is really good to use in your discussion. What's in contrast, what's the same, a comparison to what the results that you got, or even being able to kind of explain why something might be occurring. Does this paper talk about this process or anything like that? So it's kind of they talk about it as an AI assistant for your research. And it can be really good to dive into a single paper. Now, if you want to kind of do the same thing, but for multiple papers at once, I would recommend using Ellicit. And so Ellicit is by Ott, And they have a way where you can ask a research question and it will give you several different research papers. It is using the GPT model. And so it's like ChatGPT, but again, actually applied to real articles, mainly coming from Semantic Scholar. You can use their software to either find new papers and be able to ask questions about all of these papers at the same time. Now, if you use their specific questions that they've already done, they fine-tuned their model to do that, you're going to get much better results than if you just ask overall what's a random question. You may or may not get good results from those types of questions. The other option you have in Ellicit is being able to upload multiple papers at the same time. So if you already know, I want to talk about these 6 papers in my literature review, you can actually upload them and then ask your specific questions against those papers as well. So the previous 3 AI tools are really about gaining information from a paper. But what if you're just really struggling with just writing? Like, how do you write your first sentence? How do you create a discussion? All of these things. And with that, one, recommend checking out my workshop. But two, I would actually recommend ChatGPT. And some of you might actually come against me on this. And I totally understand because, yes, ChatGPT is not going to give you accurate information. ChatGPT is not going to give you accurate references, but ChatGPT is a language model. So if you're struggling to write your first sentence, ask ChatGPT for 3 examples of a sentence that conveys this idea, and then use it to craft your own sentence. Use it as a language model to create examples for what things should look like, or even ask it, hey, I have this paragraph, I want to explain this. Can you give me some examples of what that might look like? And then you can use that to craft a better dissertation for what you're actually working on. Because if you're just stuck, you don't know how to write something, getting more knowledge isn't going to help you. You really need to get in, and you can do examples by looking at other people's dissertations is always good. But if you want specific examples to what you're trying to write, use something like ChatGPT to get the creativity started. Now, with something like ChatGPT, don't copy and paste it into your dissertation. If you see people, again, talking about using ChatGPT to write their dissertation, please, please, please don't fall for that. It's going to not be a good dissertation. You may even have actual errors in your dissertation. And if your university doesn't allow that, then you're going to come into even more issues. But you don't have to direct copy paste from ChatGPT to have useful stuff coming from ChatGPT. So using something like ChatGPT can be helpful in just being able to figure out, okay, what am I actually writing? What outline am I coming to? You can even have it ask you questions to be able to kind of just flesh out your thoughts. Basically use it like you would a coworker. Obviously, if a coworker writes a paragraph, you're not going to take it and put it into your dissertation because that's their work. But you can look at it and say, okay, I kind of understand how to get my own paragraphs to start flowing correctly. So overall, those are 4 different AI tools that can help you write your dissertation faster and more effectively. But you always need that framework for how to write your dissertation in general. And an AI tool is not going to give that to you, which is why I recommend my dissertation workshop to really start getting that framework to be able to write your dissertation. If this video is helpful, please like it and subscribe to this channel for more ways to become more efficient in your research, and I hope to see you in the next video.